The kid who was once so small he had to be velcroed into his go-kart to keep from flying out of it is now a Formula One world champion. Lando Norris officially took the title today in Abu Dhabi, and to be honest, this is one of those seasons where it was such a gift for us to get to watch. But this year, for the first time in a really long time, we went into the final race with 3 legitimate title contenders. Lando Norris, who ultimately took the championship home, Max Verstappen, who had one of the greatest comebacks we've seen in a long time, going from 104 points down to losing the championship by 2 points, and Oscar Piastri, who was only in his 3rd season of Formula One. And when it comes to all 3 of these drivers, I think all of them should be really proud of this season. I think depending on who you're rooting for, there's always going to be a conversation of who deserved what. And I will be honest with you, throughout this season, I have kind of changed who I was rooting for, and in the end, I was rooting for Max. But I also think that the Formula One season is so long that a lot of times we have a little bit of a recency bias. One thing that is insane to realize is that Lando's first race win in the entirety of his Formula One career was last year in Miami. In his 2025 season, on the route to actually winning this world title, Lando Norris won the season opener in Australia, he won the Monaco Grand Prix, he won his home race in Silverstone, and in the end, he was still able to hold on to the final position he needed to take home a World Drivers' Championship against a 4-time world champion and his own teammate. And earlier on in this season, if you've been following me the entire season, you know that I was rooting for Lando for one really specific reason, and that was how many people were constantly saying he could not win a world title while being as openly emotional and quote-unquote soft as he is. Lando Norris has found himself with quite a number of fans that are both younger and women, and I think a lot of that has to do with how emotional he has been and how open he has been about being emotional. Something we don't talk a lot about in sports, especially with male athletes, is how much of a mental toll that operating at this level of excellence can really take on you. I think when you're willing to be open about that, people are able to relate to you. I think Lando winning this championship can force a lot of people to change the way they look at masculinity and the way that they may perceive their own emotions, hopefully. I think if you look at the season as a whole, this has been an incredibly impressive championship run for all 3 of these drivers, and all 3 of them bring something completely different to the table. And one of my favorite things about this sport is not just watching people's dreams come true, but also realizing that anyone watching this season could have seen 3 different people who have completely different views about how to approach success and have completely different ways of responding to failure, and all 3 of those people making it all the way to the end of the season without giving up until the finish line was crossed. And I think that is one of the coolest things that sports in general can bring us. Because what I think this season should show anyone, no matter who you were rooting for, is that you should literally never give up until something is actually impossible to win. So regardless of who you were rooting for, congratulations to Lando Norris on his very first World Drivers' Championship. And I hope that this season of watching people fight until the very end taught you something about how to take on challenges in your own life.